My name ring bells in my motherfucking town. At the Audi lot, I'm trying to hold a couple down.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rarri Vuitton. I'm back with another installment of Rarri Talks Rap. Today, I'm gonna be speaking about somebody who is one of my favorite artists of all time, artist slash producer. I'm talking about the top 10 instrumentals from my man SpaceGhostPurrp's. Legend in the game. I don't care what anybody says. Put all the internet antics aside over the last handful of years. This man is a staple in underground music. He influenced a lot of mainstream artists, but nonetheless, you know, Purrp is just an icon in my opinion. He mastered that nostalgic kind of 90s sound, made it in like a lo-fi garage band type of setting that sounded really cool, really unique, kind of took the game by storm back in, I would say, 2012, 2013 area. Really started that underground movement from Florida. Fun little tidbit about me too, I actually got a song produced by SpaceGhostPurrp about 9 years ago.
Look at how I rattle that trunk. I be going hard like I should, and if I do say so myself though.
Funny little story with that. I hit up Purrp on email or whatever, trying to get a beat, trying to buy a beat from him. I think he charged me like $100, and he sent me like, I want to say 5 or 6 snippets of little beats, and I chose one. He ends up sending me the wrong beat, not the one I chose, but he wasn't very communicative to begin with, so I just kind of ran with it. It ended up being a dope beat and a dope song anyway. Without further ado, man, I want to get right into it. Spoiler alert, most of them are just going to be self-produced songs of Purrp's, but I did sprinkle a couple others in there that he did for other artists as well that I thought were very amazing instrumentals. So at number 10, I'm gonna jump right into the BMW project by SpaceGhostPurrp. I rep FLA.
I rep FLA. I rep FLA. FLA, bitch. I rep FLA. I rep FLA.
It's just gritty, it's dark, it hits. You got subs in the car, you play that I rep FLA, like they gonna hear you coming well before they see you. You know, he had a couple of different styles when it comes to his production, some more soulful, sample based, others just dark, gritty, hard hitting drums, really loud percussion. That's what you get with that project. I rep FLA's early on the project, sets the tone for the album. That's my number 10 selection. Moving forward here, another incredible mixtape from SpaceGhostPurrp, one of my favorites of his, NASA Gang, Sex, Money, and Drugs.
UFOs flying, sex, money, and drugs. UFOs, sex, money, and drugs. Miami Vice, sex, money, and drugs. Miami Vice, sex, money, and drugs.
This is a project overall that I just think is incredible. That just gives you that Miami vibe, that sex, money, and drugs. Just sets that kind of vibe, you know? And then obviously within that NASA Gang mixtape, there's some really cool elements too. You know, that's where you hear the PC pinball sound effects and just a lot of those little anecdotes and those little like Easter eggs that Purrp threw into his production that made it interesting and fun. Really leaned heavily on that nostalgic element that I personally loved. Hilarious mixtape cover as well that looks like it was done in like Microsoft Paint. One thing about Purrp that I think is cool is like obviously his music is not perfectly mixed, right? It's not supposed to be. It doesn't sound like it was made in a professional recording studio with some guy mixing and mastering and engineering. You're gonna hear distortion in drums and percussion. His vocals aren't gonna sit. Sometimes they're gonna be loud, sometimes they're gonna be too quiet, sometimes it's gonna sound muffly and like there's a lot of moving parts, but that's the beauty of his art and his music, and it wouldn't sound right if it wasn't that way. Moving on to number 8, I'm gonna go back to NASA Gang mixtape, and I'm gonna say Snapback 90s.
This bitch sipping on some motherfucking lean on me. Levi jeans to match my DC's advance. Looking at that motherfucking man. Fuck around that nigga with that gun up in his fucking hand. Finding niggas who got.
I just love this song. There was a few songs on this tape that I kept going back to. Ahead of its time, NASA Gang, ahead of its time. I don't need to say too much on that. Moving on to number 7, RIP Activist.
I'm so fucking I'm so fucking
An activist ballad from SpaceGhostPurrp, really drawn out with the vocals, kind of put you in a trance over the beat. I'm not sure if this was on a mixtape or not. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is one of those songs I found on like SoundCloud or YouTube, like a Lucy. I loved it. It stuck with me. I don't know if it's as well known as some of the other records that Purrp has. I always thought it was really cool. Yeah, like I said, just kind of tranced out, smoked out type of music you just ride around, get high to. Gotta love an ode to activists from SpaceGhostPurrp. Moving on, a little later in the Purrp era, era, there was a flurry of music videos that were shot by a specific videographer. I think he went by Drums, and they were very trippy, very dark. One of those records that I really loved that had a really cool video was Bloody Mary.
And I'm running through your bitch. Just a young ass nigga looking good in his bitch. Understood when I said shawty jigging on my dick. I'm the motherfucking shit, nigga, how you ain't know?
Tinted red the entire time, super chopped up in the edit. Perp just doing what he does, making it sound evil, making it sound dope. This was kind of after the whole ASAP Rocky thing, and I remember these records and these little videos he put out at the time kind of gave him a little resurgence. SpaceGhostPurrp's career has been a lot of peaks and valleys. The back half of the career, probably way more valleys than peaks. Social media, Twitter antics, and just trolling, which is pretty funny actually a lot of the time. Perp's not afraid to take it there and offend people for sure online. Okay, number 5, man, I had to put this in here. I don't care what anybody thinks about the SpaceGhostPurrp Rocky beef. I still loved Rocky's tapes. That's why at number 5, I'm going to put Keep It G.
This is music for the villains. Sophisticated cheering ASAP in the house. Now we finna run the building. Working, never chilling. Till I get a million to the ceiling.
That's an incredible instrumental. It's got that like saxophone sample. One of the best beats on that tape. Live Love ASAP. That's saying a lot too. Like Clams Casino was all over that record. He made some incredible beats, but that still had the ability to stand out. That's a classic mixtape for me. I have to put that on the list, whether you like ASAP Rocky or not. I don't care. Incredible beat from SpaceGhostPurrp. Moving on. 4. We're gonna go to a more well-known single from SpaceGhostPurrp, The Black God.
Who be the god of black? That's me, SGP, mystical, magic colors, my brothers on MTV. The black be the power of the soul, protected by the code. X times X the G.
So I remember he got a deal for that album, Mysterious Funk. I think it was like 4AD or some sort of record label. Might have been overseas, but that album's probably the most well mixed and mastered. He had some professional music videos done, was kind of getting a bit of a underground mainstream push at that time. The Black God being like the lead single from that. But that's just an awesome, incredible, timeless record. Yeah, just such a dark, eerie beat with those keys, and then Perp coming in with like the layered monotones. About to wrap the world in my hands. Oh my God, I'm no longer a black man. Once the beat drops in, you get that kind of telephone filtered verse from Perp. It just gives you that face, you know? Like you feel like a boss rolling down listening to that. You could be driving like a beat up Altima, like I probably was at the time this came out, but you could be driving down like you're in an old school candy paint Chevy on wheels, really pimping, you know what I'm saying? When you listen to this song, it'll make you feel yourself. It's just got that kind of vibe. Number 3, we're gonna go to one of my favorite mixtapes of all time, the mixtape that helped me try my hand at making beats, and that's Blackland Radio 666. Number 3, I'm going with the track Underground.
The motherfucking underground.
The king of the underground at that time, making a song about how rappers just can't survive in the underground like Perp. You know what? He's damn right. I remember driving around listening to that tape. I had burned it on a CD because that's all my car had at the time was a CD player. That vaulted Perp into like this dude I heavily respected and liked, to like, oh, he might be like on my Mount Rushmore of rappers. He deserves those flowers, man. He's an underground icon, and I don't care what he's done in the past couple years or what people think of him because he went on Twitter and said some funny offensive things. Who gives a shit? SpaceGhostPurrp we're talking about here. This is the man that changed everything. Side note, I was watching his set on Rolling Loud. He was on Rolling Loud. Somebody said this comment and that was perfect. Cause you know the crowd, the Rolling Loud crowd, no offense to anybody. I'm here to see Travis Scott and blah, blah, blah. And sitting there kind of confused as Perp's up there, like kind of dancing. They don't know what to do. And somebody said in the comments, like, they don't even realize they're watching the man that influenced every other rapper that's gonna come on stage after him. Whatever, man. I'm gonna get off my high horse on that. Moving on though, we're down to our top 2. These are both records I love from Perp that I listen to all the time. Number 2, going back to the BMW tape, we've got Whole Lotta Ice.
Whole lotta ice. I got a whole lot of ice. I'm finna take your wife. My niggas take your life. Whole lot of ice. I got a whole lot of ice. I'm finna take your.
One of those beats where you hear it within like 5 seconds and you're just like, whoa. I'm gonna be playing this song back like 100 times in a row before I even move on to the next. Like, dun, 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 dun. just underground and gritty and dark, just like that whole mixtape. Like I said, there's like this cool like perk I always find funny. If you really listen to the tape, there's like this perk in there where it's like, and he just like repeats it like a hi-hat. Now every time I listen to it, I zero in on it for some reason. It's weird how that happens sometimes. The final #1 beat by Space Ghost Purrp. How could it be anything other than Friday, man?
Space Ghost Purrp, I'm in this motherfucking shit, and I'm finna fuck your motherfucking bitch. Fuck your motherfucking bitch. All these hoes ain't motherfucking shit. Why these niggas talking motherfucking shit? Talking motherfucking shit. Real young nigga, and I'm drunker than a bitch, and I don't give a motherfucking shit.
Arguably one of the best beats I've ever heard. It's so sick. From the sample to the way the drums hit and how distorted they sound. That needs to be considered on like a list of 50 hardest. And I'm gonna show my kids one day when I have kids. I'm gonna show them that song. I'm gonna be like, check this out. This is what your old man used to listen to back in his day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Rattles the whole room. These 808s that are way too loud, but in the best way possible. Again, I love that about his production. I love that about his music. That's part of the magic of it. How distorted, lo-fi, and unprofessional it sounds, but it's like, that's why it's legendary underground music. You have to have a certain aura and a certain talent level to be able to do that effectively, because lo-fi for most people sounds fucking terrible. They need that production or that mixing and mastering in the professional studio to sound bigger and better, blah blah blah. Most people can't go inward and go the other way and use GarageBand and distort the beat and have the vocal levels off and blah blah blah. But it works for Space Ghost Purrp because he was that insanely talented, and he has such a good ear, and he has such a good ability to capture that nostalgic 90s unique feeling. I don't know. Favorite Space Ghost Purrp song of all time. One of my favorite songs across all of hip hop. Yeah, that's my top 10, Space Ghost Purrp. Again, I wanted to come out here, pay homage to a legend that deserves his flowers, whether you like him or not, on the internet. Get over it. This is your boy Rarri Vuitton, Rarri Talks Rap, signing out, brought to you by Suburbanite Records. You know what I'm saying? Hottest label, all that good shit. Yeah, Rarri Vuitton in this thing. Peace.